Hello, everybody. This is Israel Levitt here for Virtual Kollel, and we're a little bit delayed today, but thank you so much for joining us. If you're joining us live, if not, if um, you're joining us asynchronously at a different time, I welcome you as well. And so, with that, I want to go ahead and open up today just to let you know a little bit about what we're going to be doing. So this is the third week. I almost said the second. It's the third week of what's known as the 3 weeks, Bein Hametzarim. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the background of the Haftorah for this particular week, the historical background, I should say. And so using to do that is just a bunch of just different verses and things like that, and a little bit of historical history, etc. Excuse me, I'm a little warm where I'm at, and what I want to go ahead and start off with is just looking at a little bit of the background politically. And so give me just a quick moment as some of the sites are pulling up here. And what I do want to is one of the introductions from the Torah Club. So this is Torah Club 3, all about the prophets, known as Voice of the Prophets. Um, if let's see here, we have a viewer here, so thank you so much for joining us. And yesterday we had some kind of malfunction or something like that, but there wasn't sound. And so whoever the viewer is, if you can go ahead and let us know either by chatting, you should be able to chat over in the group chat over here in the Google Hangouts, or if you just want to leave a message on our Facebook for Virtual Kollel and let us know that the sound is coming through. And so I'll leave the Virtual Kollel up. If you have my well, I was going to say if you have my phone number, you can text me, but my phone's charging right now. So yeah, so leave a message on the Virtual Kollel, please. That would be really helpful. And so what I'm doing is I'm just kind of clearing up some of the background here. Unfortunately, my computer is going pretty slowly. I see I have some programs open that I need to close. Okay, and let's see here, just commented. Let me go ahead and pull that up right here. So looks like that got closed. And again, I'm just trying to close programs because my computer is running very, very slowly. Here that I should have closed in the previous. Apologize for that. And so let me go ahead and make sure you guys all have the link as well. Let's see here. A moment to go ahead and send out that link. Some of you might be joining us actually, which would be really, really great. Here, hopefully I can go ahead and send this out. Okay, and so what I wanted to go ahead and do again is I just wanted to go ahead and work through some of the comments of Torah Club 3. Torah Club 3, Voice of the Prophets, is all about, obviously all about the Haftorah. And if you look at, there's 2 Torah clubs that make kind of moving around and everything like that. There's 2 Torah clubs, Torah Club 3 that have to do with kind of the historical and political background of Isaiah, the book of Isaiah. So let's go ahead and read, and I'm reading from Bereshit. I'm reading from the very first Torah club, Bereshit, from Parashat Bereshit. A prophet named Yeshayahu lived in the city of Jerusalem. In English, he's called Isaiah. His name means salvation of Hashem, Yeshayahu. Hey, Jeremy, what's going on? How you doing here? Can you also go ahead and chime in too, or are you on mute?
Can you hear me?
There you go. I don't know if I'm. Oh, you know what? I might not be able to hear you. Is the problem because I have. Uh, you know what? Let's see if I can. Maybe I can fix that. I can hear. Okay, so give me one moment here, and I'm looking to see if I can fix that for myself to be able to go ahead and hear you. And give me a quick moment. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do, Jeremy, and everybody else who's watching, is I'm going to be reading here from Torah Club 3. And what I'll do is I'll try and go ahead and connect my device here. But I might be able to hear you actually. Yeah, I see the comments. Okay, great. Well, it's great to have you here. So thank you so much for joining in. And yeah, I know the sound. There is a sound delay. Typically, is kind of how things work. And so you might not be able to hear me kind of in real time. And I'm sure that part of it is my connection as well, and just my computer connection, etc. But feel free to go ahead if you want to type. I know it's not as good as interacting, live, but feel free to go ahead and answer things. And I have the chat up, so you can go ahead and see that. So again, back to the historical background of Yeshayahu. Isaiah, he lived in the days of Uzziah, Yotam, Achaz, and Hezekiah. So those are the kings of Judah. So he actually has his prophetic time period spanned actually 4 different kings of Israel. Now there are some that say that he even spanned all the way into King Manasseh as well. So King Manasseh, if you remember, so it goes Manasseh, Amon, and then there's Sidkiyahu. Well, I should say, Sidkiyahu later became king, and so that's the time period. So it's basically the of King Manasseh, who's the king after Hezekiyahu as Hezekiah. So, anyways, Jeremiah and Isaiah are basically, a couple generations apart, and so either way, though. It says that he himself, that Yeshayahu was also of royal blood as well. He was a descendant of David. So Isaiah began to prophesy in the year that King Uzziah died. And so we'll see that actually in just a moment. He saw a vision of God enthroned in the holy temple at Jerusalem, surrounded by angels, and we'll look at that out also as well. For the rest of his life, Isaiah served the Lord Jerusalem. According to popular tradition, though, Isaiah even survived into the days of King Manasseh, the wicked son of Hezekiah, as we just spoke about. There's what's called a pseudepigraphic work. Pseudepigraphic just means it's outside of the text of what we consider the Bible. And it's called The Martyrdom and Ascension of Isaiah. King Manasseh ordered Isaiah cut in half with a wood saw. And so this is actually repeated in the Talmud. So let's see here. I don't have the track tape, but I can find that. And then also, if you look at the famous chapter of faith in Hebrews, in verse 37, it says, some were sawed in two. And so it seems that is perhaps an allusion to Jeremiah and what Hezekiah, Chezkiyahu, what he, or I'm sorry, Manasseh. What Manasseh what he ordered Jeremiah to be split in two by the saw. And so anyway, so in a pseudepigraphic work, in a work outside of the Bible, King Manasseh basically ordered Isaiah to be cut in two, and that tradition looks like it shows up in Hebrews, the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, 37. So his prophetic whole tenure, if you will, his whole time period was about 50 years. And, throughout those 50 years, he saw, King Uzziah leave behind a strong economy and healthy political situation, and things were good, abounded, and then everything seemed to be going well. But beneath the prosperous veneer, through the prophet Isaiah, um, I'm sorry, beneath the prosperous veneer, though, the prophet Isaiah saw oppression, corruption, violence, and apostasy. Now, we see that in a couple of different places. So if you look at chapter 1, verse 4, it says, "Alas, a sinful nation, people weighed down with iniquity, offspring of evildoers, sons who act corruptly. They have abandoned the Lord and have despised the Holy One of Israel. They have turned away from him." And so also, if you look at the prophet Amos, the prophet Amos describes a situation in which there is, corruption, and people are being sold into slavery, and their women are being sold, etc. So there's a whole corrupt kind of underpinning of the nation of Israel, both in the northern and the southern kingdoms. And on here, hold on one second. Okay, in Isaiah's day, Babylon was a rising but distant threat. So the immediate concern was the powerful Assyrian menace. So we'll see this actually in just a moment. Attempted to deter King Ahaz from making an alliance with the Assyrian Tiglath-Pileser. And so what's happening in Isaiah's time? So Isaiah chapter 1, as we'll talk about, is actually probably not the beginning of, or what should be, quote unquote, the beginning of the book. Because the reason why is that we have in chapter 6 the commissioning of Isaiah as a prophet. And so we'll look at that in just a quick second. However, why the book of Isaiah starts with chapter 1 and what that's doing, we'll talk about that tomorrow, perhaps the next day. But the whole reason why the whole point of me saying that is just that when you read chapter 1, you really need to know the background. And so the background doesn't really start until chapter 7 and then on, and we'll go ahead and look at that in a moment. But I just wanted to go ahead and posit that really quickly. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about in 722 and 721 BCE, during the reign of King Ahaz, Isaiah witnessed the Assyrians second carry off the northern tribes of Israel into captivity and exile. As an astute political observer, Isaiah could see the handwriting on the wall. The northern kingdom, which had expanded its territory and control during the reign of Jeroboam II, so Jeroboam II, suffered great territorial losses under Tiglath-Pileser III, and then destruction and exile under Shalmaneser II. So this should have been a lesson to Judah after Sargon II carried the Assyrian goal of entering Egypt further south and reclaimed neighboring Philistia, which was in 713 BCE. So King Hezekiah responded by reasserting Judean dominance, there we go, of the coast. His bid for control, however, brought Sennacherib's punishing campaign of reprisal in 701 BCE. And as Isaiah was present in Jerusalem while the Assyrians fought against King Hezekiah, destroyed the fortified cities of Judah, and prepared to lay siege in the holy city. So in this campaign, however, greatly reduced Judah's territory and autonomy. By that time, Isaiah could clearly see that the kingdom of Judah was coming to an end, although not at the hand of Assyria. Instead, Isaiah foresaw a growing and aggressive Babylonian empire rising to power. So that's kind of in a nutshell all the history that we need for today. However, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and look at a couple passages inside, if you will. And so hopefully, Jeremy, I will be able to still see you here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let's see here. I'm not very adept at Google Hangouts, and so yep, Looks like it can still see you here, and you should be able to see my screen right here. So hopefully you can see it, and maybe just give me a thumbs up if you can see it here. It's all about it's complete Jewish Bible with Rashi commentary. Let's see, hopefully you can see that. Okay, good. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go ahead and kind of concentrate more on this screen here. And so if you comment, I won't necessarily hear it. And let's see, maybe there's a way that I can have like a chime or something like that when you comment. Let's see here. Give me a quick second. Well, I'm not sure. That's a little too fancy for me to try and figure out right now. So, but either way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go here, text, and we're just going to read in English. So the first thing is I want to go ahead and show you this passage, and this is a pretty famous passage, but this will take us to, and I'll concentrate just in the English side here. This will take us to the next chapter. And so basically I'm going to read some of this chapter and then the next chapter. And all I want to do is I want to go ahead and take a look inside here to look at the text itself, to give you kind of the passages that we just talked about in terms of background. In the year of the death of King Uzziah, I saw the Lord sitting on a high and exalted throne, and his lower extremity filled the temple. Now, it says in the year of the death of King Uzziah, B'shnas Yamos Melech Uzziah, that's what's happening basically. That's what's telling us rather that it's kind of when he's Jeremiah. Isaiah is taking his taking up his prophet, his office as prophet, if you will, his calling as a prophet. There we go. That's what I was looking for. At that time period, so it's maybe a couple months before his death, maybe several months before his death. We don't really know. Seraphim stood above him, six wings each one, etc. And they called out, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." So that's something very familiar. We say this multiple times in our prayers. Kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. And the doorpost quaked from the voice of him who called, and the house became filled with smoke. And I said, "Woe is me, I have lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and amidst the people of unclean lips I dwell, for the King, the Lord of hosts, have me." And so just going down really quickly here to verse 7, and he caused some coal to touch my mouth, and he said, "Behold, this has touched your lips, and your iniquity shall be removed, and your sin shall be atoned for." And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And they said, "Here I am, send me." In verse 9, and he said, "Go and say to this people, indeed you hear, but you do not understand. Indeed you see, but you do not know. The people's heart is becoming fat, and his ears are becoming heavy, and his eyes are becoming sealed, lest he see with his eyes and hear with his ears, and his heart understand, and he repent and be healed." So, and what's next from verse 11? And he said, "Until when, O Lord?" So this is obviously not a very popular message that Isaiah is going to be giving. And he said, "Until cities be desolate without inhabitant, and houses without people, and the ground lies waste and desolate." So we saw that, or we heard at least earlier, that that's what was happening in the days of Hezekiah, where it was Sennacherib, the Assyrian king. Let's see here. Let's see. Yep, in 701, Sennacherib's punishing campaign of reprisal in 701 BCE, and that's when there was basically fortified cities of Judah and prepared to lay siege to the holy city of Jerusalem. So that's what's happening. Now, I want to go ahead and skip over now to look at a map quickly. So this is a map. Whoa, that's very large. So let me go ahead and there we go. I'm going to zoom out and let's see how this looks over here. Good. So you should be able to see that map there. Now, basically, this is a map of Israel and Judah in Isaiah's day. So now, first off, a couple things to notice that here is Judah in green, as you see right here, and there's Israel in red, as you see up there. And so hopefully, let's see here. Whoops. Sorry, I magnified that. Didn't mean to. So let me go ahead and press the zoom here. Or excuse me, yeah, to zoom out. There we go. And it looks like that you can't really see my cursor here. Okay, well, I'll just go ahead and describe the map here. So the map, what's happening? There we go. Not exactly sure what's happening. I guess I'm pressing the magnifying glass a little bit too, yeah, too much or whatever it is. Okay, so in green right here, all this green territory is Judah. So that's the southern kingdom. Now you notice that surrounding the southern kingdom is a city called Edom. Okay, so our land, a nation called Edom, and then over here in the what we would call the West Bank, and see here you have Gaza. That's a nation called Philistia. That's the Philistines, the Plishtim, and then up here you have, or pink color is Israel. Now Israel is the northern kingdom, and so here you have Ammon, which is to the right, and above you have Aram, and then you have Phoenicia to the west, but you have Aram, and then right where it says Hamat, above that, or maybe above that into the east, you have Assyria. So that's not exactly shown in this map here. But the two things for you to know is that, first of all, Edom down here is to the south of Judah, Philistia is to the west of Judah, and then above here we have Aram, which is to the north of Israel, the northern kingdom, and then to the northeast of Aram, which is not on this map, you have Assyria. Other things to know. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the next chapter in Isaiah. And the whole point, by the way, of doing this is that we're looking to get some background to what's happening in Isaiah's time. And that's going to give us some context for when we get in tomorrow to the actual chapter 1 of Isaiah, and we'll see exactly how this is going to help us understand some of his comments, etc. Excuse me, we're here. Okay, that's chapter 1. Okay, so I'm going to let that go ahead and load here. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to look at Second Chronicles. So we're going to look at of 2 chapters of Second Chronicles, and the first you're going to see is very short. So this is Yosam. So Yosam, Jotham, I think is. He succeeds Uzziah. So he's Uzziah. Uzziyahu is the king, the first king that was alive during tenure as a prophet. And so Isaiah becomes a prophet right in the year that Uzziah dies. And so then Jotham or Yotam, he becomes king. Now, it says Jotham was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jerusha. He did right in the sight of the Lord according to all that his father Uzziah had done. However, he did not enter the temple of the Lord, but the people continued acting corruptly. So this is, again, kind of the undercurrent of what's happening in Isaiah's time. The people are acting corruptly, etc. And we'll see that tomorrow in verse 1. He built the upper gate of the house of the Lord. He built extensively the wall of Ophel. And so he built cities in the hill country of Judah, and he built fortresses and towers on the wooded hills. And he fought against the Ammonites, as we see right here in these verses. in verse 5, it's all about him fighting against the Ammonites. Verse 6, Jotham became mighty because he ordered his ways before the Lord his God. Now the rest of the acts of Jotham, even his wars and acts, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. And so that's pretty much it. And so now verse 9 right here, and Jotham slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David, and Achaz, his son, became king in his place. So that's pretty much all about Jotham. That's the life and times of Jotham, if you will, of Jotham. Now, the next king, and this is really the king that we're going to focus on, King Achaz, and this will make sense here when we go back to Isaiah chapter 7, just a moment, to get really the background of what's happening. Okay, so King Achaz. Achaz was 20 years old when he became king, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. So he also reigned 16 years, and he did not do right in the sight of the Lord as David his father had done. But he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel. He also made molten images for the Baals. Moreover, he burned incense in the valley of Ben Hinnom, and he even burned his sons in fire, according to the abominations of the nations whom the Lord had driven out before the sons of Israel. So he did child sacrifice, which I can't even begin to understand. He sacrificed and burned incense in the high places and the hills. So basically, he was a grade AAA idolater. And, this was the king of Israel, unfortunately. Now, what happened? So basically, from verse 5 on, it's going to kind of give us a summary of everything that happened. So, wherefore the Lord his God, delivered him into the hand of King Aram. So the king of Aram, as we saw, which is to the north of the northern kingdom of Israel, and they defeated him and carried away from him a great number of captives and brought them to Damascus. And he also delivered into the hand of the king of Israel. He was also delivered into the hand of the king of Israel, as we'll see in just a quick moment here when we read Isaiah 7, who inflicted him with heavy casualties. For Pekah, the son of Remaliah. So Pekah is the king of the northern nation of Israel. And he slew Judah 120,000 men in one day, all valiant men, because they had forsaken the Lord their God. Forsaken the Lord. Let me do this again. Forsaken the Lord God of their fathers. There we go. And then there's some question about a particular warrior. So the sons of Israel carried away captive of their brethren 200,000 women, sons, and daughters. And they took also a great deal of spoil from them and brought the spoil to Samaria. So here you have 120,000 people. I mean, if you can imagine that, that's, let's see how many times. That's, what is it? 400 times the amount, if I'm correct here. No, let's see. 5 into 12. It's almost a little bit less than 300 times the amount of people that died in the World Trade Center. So there's 5,000 people that died in the World Trade Center, and then I'm not, as you can see, I'm not doing fantastically here in math. Maybe no, it's more than that. Anyways, it's many hundred times the amount of people that died in the World Trade Center. Imagine 120,000 people dying in one day. And so it doesn't really not let us know. It just kind of glosses over that number. But that's a huge amount of people that died in one day in the Southern Kingdom in the Civil War. And so what happens, they took 200,000 women, sons, and daughters captive. And now there was a prophet named Oded in the northern kingdom. And so Oded went out to meet the army which came to Samaria and said to them, behold, because the Lord, the God of your fathers, was angry with Judah, he has delivered them into your hand. You have slain them in a rage, which has even reached heaven. And so he basically, just to go ahead and cut that short, he basically appealed to them not to go ahead and take these people captive. And so what happened is that the army left the captives and the spoil before the officers and all the assembly. Then the men who were designated by name arose, took the captives. They clothed all their naked ones from the spoil, and they gave them clothes and sandals, fed them and gave them drink, anointed them with oil, and led them to Jericho, to Jericho. So that's fine. That's what happened between the Civil War. So it was a huge civil war between the North and the South. And this was all during the reign of King Achaz during the 16 years that he was king. Now, the next thing that Second Chronicles Divrei Hayamim talks about is the compromise with Assyria. So this is really the heart and soul of where we're going to be in chapter 1, where we're going to drop down into chapter 1. Isaiah. At the time, King Achaz sent to the kings of Assyria for help for again the Edomites, which you saw were kind of the southwest of the southern kingdom of Judah, had come and attacked Judah and carried away captives. The Philistines, which you saw were to the west of the kingdom of southern kingdom of Israel, the kingdom of Judah, also had invaded the cities of the lowland of the Negev of Judah, and so names those cities. For the Lord humbled Judah because of Achaz, king of Israel, for he had brought about a lack of restraint in Judah and was very unfaithful to the Lord. So here you have all these neighboring nations, and what happens is they're taking captives, etc. And so what he does is he reaches out to Assyria for help. So Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, came against him and afflicted him instead of strengthening him. So he sends out to Assyria to help, to form some kind of alliance, and Assyria instead attacks him. Because took a portion out of the house of the Lord and out of the palace of the king and the princes and gave it to the Assyria. So even though he gave them a bribe, it did not help with him. Now in the time of his distress, the same king Achaz became yet more unfaithful to the Lord, for he sacrificed to the gods of Damascus. And so he said, well, it looks like I'm not having success here. And so what I'm going to do, let me try their gods, which had defeated him. And he said, because the gods of the kings of Aram helped them, I will sacrifice to them that they may help me. Like I said, he was a great idolater. Great idolater. But they became the downfall of him and all Israel. Moreover, when Achaz gathered together the utensils of the house of God, he cut the utensils. He cut the utensils of the house of God in pieces, etc. And he made altars. And now the rest of his acts are on all his ways from first to last. Behold, they're written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. So basically what's happening here is Achaz tried to go ahead and make a pact with Assyria. And we see that this is not really working out very well right here. And so that's right smack where Isaiah chapter 7 reaches us. And what we're going to see is Isaiah chapter 7, and then we'll look at Matthew chapter 1 here to go ahead and round off our political background of the book of Isaiah. And so now we have pretty much all the different, sorry, this is kind of moving around so much. More control of this here. And I want to get it all on the English side. Let me go ahead and go to chapter 1. And let me go ahead and close this down, because I definitely don't need that open. And I definitely don't need this guy open anymore either. And let me see if that helps. Okay, it did. Now we have all the players, and we have all the geopolitical situation. And it came to pass in the days of Achaz. So we know this is Achaz, the son of Yotam, son of Uzziah. So we know those three kings. King of Judah, that Rezin, king of Aram. Okay, so we saw that the nation of Aram was successful in defeating the southern kingdom of Israel. And Pekah, son of Remaliah. So Pekah, if you remember, is the king of the northern kingdom of Israel. King of Israel marched on Jerusalem to wage war against it. So here is exactly in summary form what 2 Chronicles chapter 28 was talking about. And so in 2 Chronicles 28, we just read the summary of everything we're going to read right now. And he could not wage war against it. And it was told to the house of David, saying, Aram has allied itself with Ephraim. Ephraim, by the way, oftentimes is a synonym for the northern kingdom of Israel. And his heart and the heart of the people trembled as the trees of the forest tremble because of the wind. And the Lord said to Isaiah, out toward Achaz, you and Shar Yashuv. Shar Yashuv was his son. That name means that the remnant will return to the edge of the conduit of the upper pool, to the road of the washer's field. So now here you have King Achaz, who is, about, the different, the outskirts of the territory of Jerusalem, and, is revising the fortifications and, etc. And so here comes this prophet with his son, and that has this very prophetic name itself. Shar Yashuv, the remnant will return, is the son's name. And you shall say to him, feel secure and calm yourself. Do not fear, let your heart not be faint because of these two smoking stubs of firebrands, because of the raging anger of Rezin and Aram, the son of Remaliah. So Rezin, the king of Aram, of the northern kingdom, and the son of Remaliah, Pekah, who is the king of the northern kingdom of Israel. Since Aram planned to harm you, Ephraim and the son of Remaliah, saying, let us go up against Judah, provoke it, and annex it. Here, hold on one second. Moment. Okay, there we go. And provoke it and annex it to us, and let us crown a king in its midst, one who is good for us. So in other words, Achaz is not necessarily a political puppet like they would want. And so here they're saying, let's go ahead and get a political puppet in the place of Achaz. So the Lord God said, neither shall it succeed, nor shall it come to pass. Why? For the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. Another 65 years, Ephraim shall be broken, no longer to be a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah. And if you do not believe, it is because you cannot be believed. And so basically what Isaiah is saying is that, look, you think that these nations are big and powerful, and they seem to have kind of this this idea of continuity, that they're going to be around, and they're very sturdy and stable nations. Well, imagine somebody saying that, well, this nation of Germany, in the 1940s, that's going around and defeating all these other nations and invading them. Look, in 40 years from now and 50 years from now, they're going to be this small nation that's not going to really have any power on the geopolitical scene. So this is essentially what Isaiah is talking about. In a sense, he's trying to say, look, you think that they're big and powerful now, and they look big and powerful now, but they're really not. They're not going to be a nation of continuity. And so ask for yourself a sign from the Lord of your God. Ask it either in the depths or in the heights above. And Achaz said, I will not ask, I will not test the Lord. So here he kind of feigns his piety. And then he said, listen now, O house of David, it is little for you to weary men, that you weary my God as well. Therefore, and then here is the very famous and infamous and very controversial verse in this whole interchange. Therefore, the Lord of his own shall give you a sign. Behold, the young woman is with child, and she shall bear a son, and she shall call his name Emmanuel. Now, Emmanuel obviously means that God is with us. Okay. And cream and honey he shall eat when he knows to reject bad and choose good. For when the lad does not yet know to reject bad and choose good, the land whose two kings you dread shall be abandoned. So in other words, that whoever this son is going to be, this promised son of this woman who's going to have this son, whoever that is, some people say it was Isaiah's wife. Some people say it was the wife of Achaz himself, and it was the son was Hezekiah. Different opinions as to who the son is. And if you look at some of the the notes we have on bethemmanuel.org/kollel. In this class here, if you look at some of the notes in the bottom, I have a link to one of the sermons of Pastor Daniel Lancaster, and he has a whole sermon that he gave talking about this in relation to Matthew chapter 1 and the virgin birth, etc. So we'll look. So I encourage you to go look at that. The whole point is that the Lord shall bring upon you and upon your people and upon your father's house days which have not come since the days that Ephraim turned away from Judah, since the split of the kingdom, namely the king of Assyria. And it shall be on that day that the Lord shall whistle to the fly, and that is the edge of the canals of Egypt, and to the bee that is in the land of Assyria, and they shall come. All of them shall rest in the desolate valleys. Verse 20, on that day the Lord shall shave with a great razor on the other side of the river on the king of Assyria the head of the hair, the head and the hair of the legs, and also the beard shall be entirely removed. So basically what he's trying to say is that the king of Assyria is going to come and wipe out the northern kingdom. And it shall come to pass that every place where there were 1,000 vines for 1,000 pieces of silver will be for the worms and the thorns. Verse 23. So again, so I apologize for that. The internet connection looks like it cut out right there. And so let me go ahead and see if I can go back to where we were. And I apologize for that. Let me go ahead and go back to this. Okay, so you should be able to see right there. Back over here. When you consider Joseph, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child who has been conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. She shall bear a son, she shall name his name Yeshua, Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. Now, here in verse 22 and verse 23 is where it picks up off of our chapter that we just read. Now, all this took place to fulfill. Let me see. No, I don't want to do any of those things. Now, all this took place to fulfill what was spoken by the Lord through the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall be with child and shall bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which translated means God is with us. Now, I'm not going to get into too much of the polemics here between that verse and what we saw over here, verse 14, which is basically is what Matthew is quoting. I'm just going to go ahead and cap it off very quickly. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that basically what he's doing is very sophisticated technique of Bible study in the first century. So part of that has to do with a couple of different things. First of all, it has to do with the idea of a remez. A remez is a hint in a particular word, the way either it's spelled, or sometimes the numerical value of the word, or sometimes the way that it can be interpreted in two different ways. And so the woman, the all-mother he's talking about, it comes from the word elam. Elam just means kind of like immaturity or youth, something of that nature. And so is it a virgin? Is it a young woman? Because he's making a play on words on that. And so, the other issue that a lot of people bring up is that, look, this is 700 years before Yeshua's time period at all. And so how is this any help to people in the first century when Isaiah is giving this prophecy to King Achaz, who's considering, making an alliance with Assyria, etc., etc. And so the issue really is that what Matai is doing, what Sefer Matai, the Besor of Matai is doing, is he's using this thematically in a midrashic way, and this is done thousands and thousands of times in Jewish literature. And so he's taking a verse and he's reapplying a midrashic understanding to it. That he's saying what? Just as in the time of King Achaz, that the house of David was in danger. Why? Because of foreign invaders who are coming and who are trying to take away the kingdom and exile the kings and exile the people and do away with the king and cut off all the lineage of David. That also in the time of Yeshua, the same thing was happening. The same thing was happening with the Romans and with Herod and with all the other different political leaders that happened at that time. And just as there was a wicked king Achaz in that time, so there's a wicked king Herod in the time of the Jewish people. And so what's going to happen is that there's going to be a son that's going to be born that's going to be a sign of the continuity of the house of David and the cutting off of all the other nations that are surrounding and threatening the house of David. And it's exactly the same thing. There's going to be a son who's born who is going to be a sign of the continuity of the house of David. And there's an eventual cutting off one generation after Yeshua's time, that there's a cutting off of the Romans. I mean, there's no more Romans around anymore, unless you consider the nation of Italy, to be of have Roman to be of Roman descent, and also that Herod and all the other wicked kings of Israel, the wicked royal family, quote unquote, of Israel, is also cut off. So, anyways, I don't want to go too deep into that, but just to show you that there's a perfect continuity between what Matthew is doing and what Isaiah is doing. And in my mind, it's a very simple thing. It doesn't warrant all this debate. However, I think on both sides, they're kind of missing the key to everything. And so, anyways, that's a little bit of a background of Isaiah. I mean, we can spend days and days and days and weeks going over Isaiah and all the geopolitical landscape that's behind everything that's happening in that time period. But tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll start on the text of the Haftorah, which is actually chapter 1 of Isaiah. And we'll get into some of the depths of that Haftorah, etc. And so thank you so much for joining us, Jeremy. And thank you everybody else for watching. And this is Yisrael Levitt here with Virtual Kollel. And have a great day in every way. May be blessed, and may we all be blessed with the coming back of our Messiah, Mashiach Yeshua, Messiah Yeshua. May he be the true King, ruling and reigning in Israel, and all of us together will be with him. God willing, tomorrow even we'll be with King Messiah. If not, God forbid that doesn't happen, then tomorrow we'll be together learning about Isaiah and the prophet of the Haftorah of this week. So have a great day in every way. God bless.